I'm back doing another live stream. Make sure this is actually working before I get started here. That's always the fun thing about a live stream is you press go live and then you have no idea if you're actually live. Hopefully we're live. Looks like we're live. Thanks everyone for joining once again for another live stream, my second live stream in a row. I won't be doing daily live streams or anything like that, so don't worry. Hang on, I've got some feedback here. I won't be doing daily live streams or anything. I was just testing the live stream yesterday because it's the first time I had done one and I had no idea how to do it. So I had to set up a bunch of tech and software and we'll see how it goes. You know, I'm still going to be kind of flying by the seat of my pants here. Let's see here. Ideally, I mean, I can see all in the YouTube chat. Hopefully, I'm going to see your comments showing up in my software now so that I can pull them up on the screen. But how are y'all doing today? Hopefully doing good. I'm feeling better. Have been sick lately, but feeling better. Let's see if we can get this chat or this chat working here. Annoyingly, I don't seem to see it. Well, just trying to figure that out. Why? Yeah, the stream is working great, but what's not working is the comments showing. I can see the comments on YouTube itself, but I can't see the comments in my my streaming software, which allows me to put the comments up on the screen. So that's going to be troubling if that doesn't work. Yeah, I'm not quite at 100%, Deborah. Close. I'm at maybe 80%, 85. I'll put it at 85. I've been at 80. Now I'm at 85. Yeah, that's really annoying. Why would that not be working? I'm going to mess with some settings here and see if I can't get this chat to work. Forgive me while I stare at a computer on the live stream. Yeah, all settings say that they should be showing up. They're not. And they showed up in my test. That's why I do a test. You know, I do the test so that I can make sure everything is configured correctly. Very weird. Very annoying. That's okay. We're going to answer questions. They just won't be on the screen when I answer them, which is annoying. But we'll figure it out. You know, I'll do more live streams. I'll get this thing working. I promise. I'm also going to have some help. I'm going to have somebody help manage kind of the back end of the live stream so that I can actually talk and not have to configure it all the time. Jeremy asks, "Hey Justin, what was your best sale of all time?" It's a good question. Actually, let's just take a look. I can't remember what it is right now. I should be able to share my screen here. Does that work? I assume that that's going to work, that you can see my screen. The delay on actual YouTube is by, I don't know, a couple 20 seconds or so, so I can't actually see if it works. I'll assume that it is working. Let's just take a look. I'm going to go into all of my sales and sort by net sales at the highest. So my best sale of all time, or not all time, but since I started tracking my data and putting it into Flipwise. I had old data before that. So the best sale right here, there's no picture because it's pre-Flipwise sale, is this Swiss-made clock that I bought from another reseller, actually. Net return of $866. It sold for $1,200. It actually went through the international shipping program to somebody in Hong Kong, I think. What else have I sold? This one was a good one. Department 56, Dr. Seuss Grinch Village. This thing was $5 at a garage sale, right? Is that right? Yeah, $5 at a garage sale. It sold for $659.98. Pretty wild. Pair of Chrome Hearts sunglasses. That's number 3. I got that from a bulk buy. I got $8 into it. They sold for $659. Pretty good sale. I don't think I would spend $600 on sunglasses. Same garage sale as before, a different Department 56, also $5, 609. Just wild. It was a wild garage sale. I bought 3 of those Department 56 Grinch villages, and they total was like $1,400, and I spent $15 on it. Some weird stuff in here. That's a booster pump. I don't even know really what that is. Came from that bulk buy of my fixtures. I've got $60 into it. It's sold for $624. Pair of headphones. Yeah, so those are my top sales. Not bad. All right, what other questions we got in here? Justin, do you ever look at comps and see a ton of an item sold, but all of them are UK based? Do you think this is something we should take into consideration? Whisker Pickens asks that. Sorry, I can't show it up on the screen because my technology is not working. Yeah, sometimes you do see that. You see comps that are only showing from the UK, or sometimes they're like from Japan. And you definitely should consider it because you're looking at the marketplace that everyone else is in that regard. And so your pricing is competitive with what's available. And sometimes I see it as a good sign, because if I'm located in the United States, for example, and all the competition is located in the UK or Japan or something, often you can charge a premium because you're in the United States, and it's going to ship much faster and get to the buyer much more quickly with less hassle. And so that can be a selling point. So it's definitely a sign for me to perhaps price on the higher end of my normal to do that. So definitely the case. I definitely consider it. It doesn't really change my pricing in any way other than to raise it a little bit. Corey says if Justin had an OnlyFans, I would subscribe to that as well. Well, that's coming soon, so OnlyFans is coming soon. Not really. Let's see what else we got here. Irvin asks, question, I currently offer free shipping since I live in California to remain competitive with my price. Is good strategy, or am I leaving cash on the table? I mean, I think that if I was on the coast, if I was in California or on the East Coast, I would be less likely to offer free shipping, just because, it's your maximum cost to ship across the country is much higher than if you were to live in the middle of the country like I do. So living in the middle of the country definitely makes it easier to offer free shipping, because you can sort of the maximum amount to ship is lower. And so, not to say you can't make it work, but I'm guessing you're running into situations where shipping is costing more than what you priced it at, depending on who bought it. So something to consider. Game Tight asks, can I use Flipwise to track my Mercari sales? Yes, you can. You can use Flipwise to track any sales on any marketplace. So it doesn't connect to Mercari yet, but you can use it to record sales manually. And so if you go to the help section on Flipwise, there's like a little question mark up in the top corner. Click that, search Mercari, or search for record sales, and it'll walk you through how to record sales extra from or non-eBay sales. Texas Gambler asks, is Puerto Rico subject to the global shipping program, or can I shift, or, well, you said, can I use ground advantage? I'm sure you didn't use it, meant to say that word, but yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's not the global shipping program for sure. Yeah, you would just use you would ship it regularly. I don't know. I shouldn't have answered that one because I don't know the exact answer, but yeah, you should. That should be just like shipping to a state, I believe. Somebody will chime in the comments if I'm wrong. Okay, Heidi asks, Justin, should I include international in my selling? What's the pros and cons? Heidi, I think you should definitely consider turning on the international shipping program if you can. There's 2 ways to ship international. You can ship directly international, which means someone from a country buys and you have to ship it to them just like shipping anywhere else, or you can ship through the international shipping program. That's eBay's like program that basically makes it much easier to sell internationally. And so what you end up doing is if you sell it through the international shipping program, you don't send it to the buyer. You actually send it to eBay first, kind of like the authentication program. So you send it to an eBay warehouse. eBay takes the item and repackages it sometimes. So basically, eBay is then responsible for getting it to the end user, and it's a great service. I love the international shipping program. I love it when I get sales through it because it's also, you just know the sale is a done deal. You know that when somebody buys through the international shipping program, if they were to want to return it, they can do that, and eBay will allow the return, but eBay covers the cost of the return. They don't charge you for the return, which is pretty awesome. So it's very good. And by the way, you're not seeing the questions pop up on the screen if you're just joining because my software decided not to show them on the screen. So I'm having to read them directly from YouTube. Sorry. We'll get it figured out in future live streams. 8-Bit Alan asks, hello, Justin. As AI becomes more and more advanced, do you think it will become a big player in the resale space? And will you get left behind if you don't get into it early? I mean, it's already here. It's already making pretty big changes to the reselling industry already. I have an entire video about this. I can't remember what it's called. What is it? Why most AI reselling tools suck. That's the name of the video. And that sounds like I'm like hating on all AI. I'm not. I'm a big proponent of AI. I use it a lot. But in the reselling space, probably in other industries as well, but I don't know those industries as well as I know the reselling space. There's a lot of AI tools that are just not quite ready for mass consumption. They're almost, there's some tools that are just sort of slapping the word AI on there as a marketing thing. And so that said, there are use cases for AI right now that are just game changing. Like if you're not using AI to identify unknown objects, you're behind the game already, And I think a lot of people from because of pride, they're less likely to adopt new tools because they want to do it the old school way, which is fine. You're welcome to do that. I respect that, but you're also just going to be left behind. Nobody knows everything. And so by being able to use AI tools to identify unknown items, it vastly, it opens up a whole new world of sourcing. And it's amazing. And I use it for that very frequently. I don't use it to list. In my experience, the listers that I've used have just been more trouble than it's worth. And you're really just shifting the work that you have to do as a lister. It really depends on what you sell. I mean, there's some categories where it works really well, some categories where it doesn't work as well. As an everything seller, it tends to not work that well for me consistently to where I could build workflows around it to keep my listing process down. Because I try to list very quickly and accurately, and the tools just made that more difficult, not better. But those tools will get better, and it will continue to change the landscape significantly. So it's something that you want to be using, be aware of. And yeah, I do think you'll be left behind, and to some degree, if you're not utilizing it in any way. I hope that answered your question. I don't remember what you asked. All right. I've lost place in the chat, so if I miss your question, I'm sorry. Timothy asks here, what about framed pictures? Are they profitable with shipping? That's a great question. I don't do a whole lot of art or framed pictures. Every once in a while, I buy it. I actually just listed some framed photos recently. It's actually one of the creepier things that I've ever listed. Maybe there's some people that might find this problematic. I don't know, but it's, I guess a long time ago, people used, like in the early 1900s, they used to memorialize their loved ones that had passed in photo. So they would keep photos of their deceased relatives up in their house. Maybe that's a cultural thing. I don't know. It's not a cultural thing for me. So I found it interesting. But this one is a picture of a baby. And I got it through the person I'm consigning with. And it's just a very creepy thing to have. But there's a huge market on eBay for that type of thing. I was very surprised to learn. And what was your question? Your question was about framed pictures. That's how I got there. So yeah, you could. I mean, are they profitable with the shipping? The shipping's not going to be that bad. You tend to have to find like a good sized box. People don't typically stock those type of boxes unless they sell a lot of art. So you have to figure out the box, and it can get expensive to ship. But if it's an expensive piece of art, that doesn't really matter. Outdoor Discount Store asks, what do you enjoy most about YouTube? Kind of this, having a community of people that all like share the same interests. It's a lot of fun to be a part of that community, help grow that community. I like helping people. Like I didn't expect that when I started doing YouTube, to be able to help as many people as I have. And I get notes every single day from people that are just thanking me for how I've helped them and help them build their business, put food on the table, make money. I don't know, it just feels really good. So I definitely like that aspect of it. It's also just a creative outlet for me. I've done video production stuff, never professionally, but just as a hobby for a really long time. And so it's a good outlet to have for me creatively to think about ideas of videos I want to do, and to actually, it's a tough process to go through the, ideation and filming and production and post-production and all that. And so but I enjoy that. I like that aspect of it. So I like doing it. Mr. Thinker asks, any plans to turn Flipwise into a cross-lister and or listing tool with AI assistance? I get asked this all the time. I think that's definitely on the horizon, but it's not our current focus. There's still so much we can do with eBay. And the truth is, like, most people, sell exclusively on eBay, or a majority of their sales come from eBay. And so I still believe that there's a lot of value in bringing eBay specific tooling for folks. And so, but it's just, there's no doubt that cross-listing would be a great feature and a great addition, but there's already other good cross-listers out there. And they tend to play well with Flipwise. And so we have a lot of people that do want to cross-list, who do that and use other software and also use Flipwise. But I think it's inevitable that we will do that in the future. It's just not our core focus right now. The same goes with listing. It's very natural to like where you're storing your inventory's information, your inventory management system, to also list from there. And so again, it's not like the way that we built Flipwise was to focus on the things that you can't already do in eBay, like the things that are either impossible to do or just not a good experience to try to do in eBay specifically. And so we haven't focused on listing because, the vast majority of people they're fine with listing in eBay, including myself, but it's inevitable that we start to add on functionality that you can also do in eBay, but perhaps do it a little bit better, in a bespoke tool. Or it makes more sense to do it in a bespoke tool because you already have all of your inventory in there already, if that makes sense. Carl Becker asks, if you're working 12 plus hours a week, would you make more money adding 6 hours? I mean, yeah, definitely. It's just not linear in that way, though. Reselling, it's not like add a couple hours to it, you're going to make, that percentage. I'm not going to increase my money by 50% because I'm adding 50% more hours, for example. It just doesn't work that way. But you definitely make more money, the more time you're putting into it, for sure. All right, what else we got here? Whisker asks, do you ever have weeks where only your lowest priced items are selling, even if you have higher priced 100% sell-through rate items listed at market value? Not really. I've got a lot of stuff in my store, though, so that's not a thing. I did, like, right when I turned, it was interesting, I turned vacation mode off last week. Is that right? Last week? Yeah, last week. No, this week. What day is it? It's Thursday. I can't remember. When did I get back from vacation? Was that this week? I think it might have been this week. Anyway, when I turned it back on, or when I turned it back off, I also didn't list anything for like 3 or 4 days because I still wasn't feeling well. And the only thing that was selling was just like really old stuff, which I attributed more to like the auto relisting of that stuff. But it was just weird to see that older stuff going out. It's not like that anymore, but it was for a few days. Um, I had a good question, but then YouTube comments bounced around and I lost it. Where is it? There we go. Green Giant asks, what are some red flags that might make you not sell to someone? So I don't like, I get a lot of questions similar to that, or a lot of like people sending me emails saying, would you sell to this person? Because like they've already sold to them and then they've inspected their account and it has a weird address, or I do none of that. I don't do any inspecting of my buyers at all. I think it's just unnecessary. That 99.9% of buyers are going to be completely fine, and I'm not going to spend time to investigate every single buyer for like the one bad apple. So I don't do any like investigating of my buyers, but there are some signals that I get in the daily interactions with potential buyers where I'm like, I'm not going to sell to that person. Usually I'll let people ask one question like over chat or over messages on eBay. They can ask one question like, I don't even know. I don't know what the item would be, but anyway, the last one question, if it can be answered in the listing, that's the last question they get. I will answer it, but if they ask another question, I just ignore it or block it. I just don't, because people that ask a lot of questions, especially if they can already be answered in the listing, those are just, in my experience, problematic buyers, and I just would rather not sell to them. Now, if it can't be answered in the listing, I'd forgotten to add something, or it was just a really good question that I didn't consider, then they'll get a few more questions from me if they ask. But a lot of asking or question askers is the biggest red flag for me that they might not sell to someone, or just people that message the lowball offers in a like not using any sort of like understandable language, where it's just like they just say like if it's listed for $75 and they're like they just put the number 50. I'm like, is that? Are you sending me an offer? What do you? I know what they're doing, but I don't want to sell with those people either. Now, if somebody sends me a message, is like, hey, just wanted to know, would you take 50 for that? Then I will engage with that. So I don't know. I'm kind of petty sometimes too, though. So you may not want to take my advice on that. Lee asks, what's the best way to ship items such as golf clubs? I don't do golf clubs anymore. I used to do golf clubs or baseball bats or long and thin items like that a lot. It was like, I don't know when that was, like a year and a half ago, maybe. Actually, I think it's when Ground Advantage came around. I don't know. At some point, the post office, the USPS, like changed their rates for long and thin items, and it used to be like relatively cheap to ship that stuff through USPS, and they had these excellent boxes for free. So it must have been priority. They were priority boxes, but they were like 36 by 3 by 3 or something like that. So they were free boxes, perfect for golf clubs and bats and things like that. And it was relatively cheap. But for some reason, their rates went up with weirdly shaped items like that. And it became really expensive, prohibitively expensive, to where I just stopped picking them up. And you can ship them through FedEx and UPS at better rates, but you have to have the box. And I just don't keep that size box on hand all that often. And I also don't know that category very well. If you know that category very well, you can also just seek out, boxes of that size or buy them or go to, Play It Again Sports and get their boxes or whatever. But I never did that. So. Some questions about like tariffs and de minimis. Like I'm not knowledgeable enough to answer that stuff. Sorry. Just looking through the comments here, and sorry I can't get the comments to show up on the screen. I'll figure that out for a future live stream. Arian asks, I started reselling a year before using Flipwise. Is there a way to upload that old data? Yeah, you can just email us. Email us your spreadsheet or your CSV file at Flipwise, or support at flipwise.app, and we can import that for you. David asks, do you accept offers on a majority of your listings or just a price? Majority of my listings do not have best offers turned on. I'll go back and turn offers on for stuff that I've had for a while, but I typically don't start a listing with best offers on unless I'm like not sure what the value is and I just am aiming high and I want to send the signal that I will take an offer. But if I know what the value is, I would rather just get the value, not less than the value. But I do send out offers quite a bit. And so when I get interested, I usually price on the high side and send offers out, but I don't keep best offers on. Susan asks, what do you think of the auto feedback by eBay? I think it's great. Let's take a look at it. I've gotten a lot lately. So here's how you can find it. I'm going to share my screen here in a second. So if you go to your seller hub and just click on the number of feedback up there and then scroll down, there's a little show automated feedback right there. We can see like all my recent feedback is automated feedback. Just a ton of it there. It looks like I've gotten 26 so far since they turned it on like last week or something like that. So I think it's great. And, you know, I've heard folks complain about maybe, you know, being on the buyer side. Like I don't want to leave automated feedback for that. But the buyers, you know, if they do leave feedback, it'll overwrite what eBay left automatically, including negative feedback. So this doesn't like prevent you from getting negative feedback. I don't think. Actually, I say it out loud, but I'm not 100% sure on that answer. But I did read that a buyer's feedback will overwrite the eBay's feedback. So I assume that includes negative feedback as well. So I don't think it means that you're free from negative feedback. Tom asks, do you ever Google ship to addresses just to see what you can see? I recently shipped a $300 item, my most expensive so far, and I just want to make sure it wasn't a vacant lot. Yeah, Tom, sometimes I'm like nosy and I sell something, I don't know. Sometimes I sell something, I'm just like, I wonder where that's going. And sometimes you just find like interesting places where your stuff is being sold to. But I don't know, like the most recent time I did it, I sold like, it was a replacement part for an ice cream maker, like a Cuisinart ice cream maker, a replacement part for it. And it went to like a $6 million house. And I was like, well, that's probably why they have so much money, is because they're, you know, buying replacement parts for their, for their kitchen equipment. Good on them. Let's see. New Joy asks, in Flipwise, is there a way to see how much I've spent and what I bought at a vendor on a specific day? So yeah, I think that's possible. Let's see here. So if I'm going to share my screen again, so we'll bounce through Flipwise. So if you scroll down to purchase locations, and then, I don't know, let's see, church sale. It's been a while since I've been to a good church sale. You can then, this is everything that you bought at a particular purchase location. That's your question, right? Go back, sold items. I will often, I don't know, where is it? Yeah, from a vendor on a specific day. So yeah, this shows you like basically everything you've bought, how much money you've spent at that particular location, the currently active list value, your gross income from that location, your net income from that location, your ROI from that location, everything that was recently listed, everything that was recently sold. And if you click down here, you can see that your purchase location has been filtered up here by that. I'm sorry, your active listings have been filtered by that purchase location. Then you can click the filter button again. I think this will work. Gosh, I hope it'll work. Let's see, the purchase date was April 8th, 2025. So let me just change that to custom. I'm going to make sure it works. What did I say? April 8th? Yeah, so that shows me everything that was purchased on April 8th from this purchase location. So yes, you can do that. You like how I had to remind myself how my own software works? My dogs are saying hello. I don't know if you guys can hear that outside. Is there a way to bulk promote listings at a chosen percentage, or can you only do it one at a time? Denise asks. Yeah, I think you can bulk promote. I believe you can do that in like the bulk editing tool. But if not, what I use, because I promote everything at a flat rate and don't change it at all ever. And instead of having to add the promoted listings to every, like when you list it, you, instead of like selecting the percentage every time, you can set up like a auto rule campaign, I think they call it, something like that, where basically you set this up on the eBay side and every new listing automatically gets applied the specific percentage that you wanted. I'm not going to walk through how to do it, but it is possible. So email me and I'll send you the link on how to do that. Jay asks, hey Justin, are there items you should not accept returns on, or just have accept returns on everything? I accept returns on everything except for things that I have listed for parts not working. Those I don't accept returns on. So everything else gets returned or gets returns. Kitty asks, would you consider having your wife join you for a video on shipping? I mean, I would consider it, but she wouldn't do it. So. Where to source cheap free boxes, packing materials, labels, also how to pack fragile items, weird shapes. Yeah, I'm guessing those would be all questions you would ask my wife if she were on this as well. But, I'll answer a few of those. Like we buy almost all of our boxes locally. So any major metro area is going to have like a local box supplier, and it's going to be so much cheaper because you don't have to pay to get it shipped to you. So we get a lot of boxes through a local box supplier here in St. Louis, but I'm sure that wherever you live hopefully has one as well. And a long time ago, I stopped like hunting around for quote free boxes, just because that time you spend doing it, that's not free, and that costs some money. And you could probably be spending that time doing something else. But so we buy all of our boxes. We buy most of them locally, and then we also buy the rest of them online, basically, just usually off of eBay. I use the Boxery quite a bit. That's where I just got a shipment in today from them. Yeah, I wish I could have gotten this chat working. I know that y'all can see the chat in YouTube, but for whatever reason, my software is not ingesting the chat, the comments in the chat into my software so that I can show it on my screen, which comment I'm responding to. That stinks, but I'll get that figured out in future live streams. Danny asks, when I buy a bulk of stuff, how do I divide the purchase price? In your opinion, should I put it all divided evenly over the amount of items, or would I put the main item in and the rest free? It's a good question, Danny. I think there's a lot of ways you could do that. The most important thing is that whatever you do, that it adds up to the total amount spent. That's the most important part. So you could do what you suggested by splitting it evenly across all, or you could give one item the entire cost and set the rest as no cost. What I tend to do is either split evenly if the inventory is roughly the same type of inventory. But sometimes you buy, like, this happens pretty frequently. You buy like a bulk lot of things, and you have stuff that it's a mix. There's stuff that's really expensive and stuff that's really cheap and in between. And so in that situation, what I typically do is give each a weighted cost. And I'm not really scientific about it. Basically, the way I do it is about a rough percentage of the list value. And so if something is like worth about $100 and I paid $100 total, and there's, I don't know, 20 items of mixed values, I'll give the item that I'm listing at $100, I'll give it a $10 cost of goods, like a 10% of the list value. And then again, I just make sure that it all adds up in the end to the rough value. That allows me to give a lower cost of goods to some of the cheaper items. But again, it's all unnecessary. You don't have to do that. I like to do it that way because I like each item in my inventory to like be representative of like, would I buy it again? And that's what I use a lot of this historical data for. I go back and look when it pops up, or when I'm considering buying something, I might look. And if, I just want that item to be representative of like whether that's a good purchase on its own. Like, would I have bought that for $10 to sell it for 100? Yes, I probably would have. So hopefully that makes sense. Jeremy asks, you used to include video questions a while back. Did people stop doing that, or you no longer wanted to do that? I just sort of stopped doing questions entirely. I felt like it was getting kind of repetitive, and I liked answering questions. I'm thinking that's why I sort of want to do like a live Q&A instead, or try that out. Is, hopefully it'll be less repetitive. But doing the I feel like there's only so many times I can answer certain questions, like on my weekly videos, and I've shifted my my sort of strategy for my Monday videos. And that, I mean, for those of you who've been watching for some time, the evolution that those videos have gone through. And now, like, I feel like I've landed on a pretty good spot. Like, I like my weekly videos now, where I sort of spend the first 10 minutes or so talking about some like topic that is topical for the day or week or whatever. It's kind of an opportunity for me to go deep on a subject and really like think about it and present my ideas about it. And then I shift into something a little bit more personal, like where I'm talking about, my numbers for the week, like how my reselling business is doing, and I get to sort of share those numbers, and I get to share some of the cool stuff that I sold. And then I sort of, as the video progresses, I get more and more personal until I like shut the lights out and I'm just like jibber jabbering about whatever. So. But oh yeah, your question was like, did people stop doing that? No, people still send them. I don't put them anywhere right now. So my apologies if you've sent those video questions in and I have not used them. Lauren asks, have you ever had an item you sold? Oh, I just had a good sale right now. Some bathroom equipment for $130. Anyway, what was this question I was reading? Have you ever had an item from Lauren? Have you ever had an item you sold, returned to sender, no word from the buyer, it's still paid for? I reached out to the buyer, they didn't write back. It's been over 90 days. Can I relist? Yeah, it's like a weird situation, right? Like, you sell something and then it gets returned back to you, and the buyer is just missing, like, do you want this thing that you paid for? What I typically do is just refund their money, even though they didn't ask. Like, I have the item back, and so I'm going to resell it. So I just refund their money, and then I relist it and resell it. So that's what I would recommend. D Hector X asks, do you ever sell perfumes, colognes, or other liquid items? How do you ship them, USPS or other services? Yeah, I don't sell perfumes and colognes that much anymore. I used to sell them more, but I feel like I can't remember, some time ago eBay's like cracked down a little bit on it. Not that they cracked. I don't think you can sell like used cologne or perfume. So everything has to be sold as like new, but then it's like unofficially people put like the percentage of the amount that the cologne is. I don't know. It's like weird. It just feels weird to sell it now. So I just like pass on it usually, unless it's brand new. But I think what you're at, like, how do you ship them? And you really need to worry about it if it needs to go ground instead of like being flown in an airplane, because you do need to take special precautions for that stuff. This is where my wife would come in and probably correct everything that I'm saying here. But just like general liquid things, like is totally fine. General liquid items that aren't combustible is totally fine to ship. You just want to make sure it doesn't leak, and so you might put it in a bag or something before you put it in a box. JB asks, if your eBay account was banned tomorrow, what alternate platform is your #1 backup option? Oof, that's a good question. I hope that doesn't happen. I don't know where I'd go. I guess Mercari. Oof, doesn't sound fun. Annabelle asks, hi, Justin, is there any software that can automate ending listings and relisting them? I wish it was one. Thank you for your videos. Yeah, Flipwise does that. You can turn on automatic ending and relisting. Here, I'll show it to you real quick. Where is it? I hate when I get crunchy things underneath my mouse. I don't know what that is. Anyway, where am I at? Yeah, so if you're on Flipwise, you can go down to relists. I have automatic ending and relisting turned on, but if you didn't, you would go here and turn it on. I also have it set to not relist multi-quantity items listings if they have at least one sale right there. That's because like you don't want to relist multi-quantity items with a sale because typically your listing has better ranking if it's had a sale. And so by ending and relisting, you sort of lose that ranking on a multi-quantity listing. So I exclude those. So these are all my listings that are scheduled to be relisted in the future. You can see here, all of these 3 relist in 9 hours. Next batch relists in 11 hours. And so basically, Flipwise every 29.9 days, right before eBay will renew it, Flipwise will end it and relist it for you, so you don't have to do it. And then you click over here, you can see everything that has been relisted in order. So 6 hours ago, that thing was relisted. 7 hours ago, those were. It also shows shows the number of times they've each been relisted. I like to use this screen as an audit, like this thing right here. Why has this thing been relisted so many times and it still hasn't sold? Like, I don't know, it's probably just not something that's going to sell, but I'll pop over there, and I might revise a listing and change the price, do stuff like that. How about that? Drop the price a little bit. Is there shipping on that? Yeah, there's shipping on it. Anyway, so yes, Flipwise will do that. Helping Holdings asks, hang on, let me stop sharing. Helping Holdings asks, in Flipwise, how do you record the cost of the item if it's something that was yours personally, like an item from your own junk drawer? It's less of a Flipwise question. That's more of a tax question. And I'm not a tax specialist. I don't really give tax advice, but there's a lot of ways you can handle it. And, people tend to put the fair market value for that thing. And so there's a way that you can figure out the fair market value of an item. And typically with those personal items you're selling, a lot of them are going to be sold at a loss. And so if you put the fair market value in there and then you sell it, your ROI and your net return will be negative, which sounds bad, but that's good for tax purposes because you're lowering your taxable income. So that's usually what people do, is put a fair market value in there. Nicole asks, have you ever thought about doing any live selling? No, I haven't thought about that at all, Nicole. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like my style. I don't know. This live stream barely feels like my style. So it's a stretch to think that I'm going to sell stuff live as well. I don't know. Danny asks, does your software have a consignment feature? Or if my consignment agreement is 50-50, should I just put 50% of the list price as my cost? Danny, we didn't build any consignment features specifically in Flipwise, but it does handle it pretty well. And I handle consignments in there. I'll just show you really quick how I handle it. I should just leave the screen on here. Let's see. Not ready to ship. Let's find something that I sold on consignment. Here's something right here. So here's a record that I sold on consignment. So you can see I put I put the purchase price as 0. And so putting a purchase price as 0 allows you to have a kind of a clean net return. And so the net return ends up being basically the sale price minus all expenses, so minus fees and minus shipping. And then I consign at 50-50. And so when I have a net return, like here, let me delete this really quick so you can see how I do it. Where am I? Just going to delete that consignment payout really quick, and then I'll go back and do this. What? Didn't I just delete that? I probably just deleted something I shouldn't have deleted. I'll go back and check. Anyway, there, now it's gone. So here's what a consignment sale looks like before I do any payouts. So again, $0 cost of goods. My net return on it is $44.05. And so, I then just record, a payout. I go here, add expense, $22.03, and a vendor is the consignment. So I'd make a vendor for each consignment payout. and I do NYP, that means not yet paid. That way I can look at all my list of payouts to see whether they've been paid or not. And once I pay them, I switch the description to paid. And that just records the expense, and now we share the net return. So I gave the person I consigned with an extra penny on that one. So we didn't build any of that specifically to handle consignments, but it does handle them pretty well. Epic Trachis asks, the other day I came across an ice cream maker with a seller holding it up with his feet. Would you recommend including your feet in the listing photo? Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think when I'm looking for an ice cream maker, like the first, I just like, I want to know, has someone, juggled this with their feet recently? Like to me, I don't know, that's what I'm looking for in an ice cream maker. So I tend to do that when I'm listing stuff as well. So, feet, hands. I'll get my hands really dirty sometimes. Just manhandle it and take the photo. So yeah, I think that's a great strategy. Jason asks, "Hey Jason, how are you? Nice to see you here. Do you have any rules of thumb you use when sending offers, like flat percentage? Gosh, I can't talk at all. Like a flat percentage you default with. Yeah, I almost always just do 10%. Sometimes I'm like, you know what, I'm feeling a little generous. I'm gonna do 12%. Maybe I'll do 15 every once in a while. Sometimes it's almost because I have like OCD and I can't have any items sitting in my list of waiting to send offers. And so there's some things on there where I'll just like I'll remove them from sending offers, send a 10% offer. And then because it's something I want to send a higher offer on, I'll send that individually. So that's kind of how I handle that, but no rule of thumb. Just usually a flat 10%. Wendy asks, if UA provides the feedback, does auto feedback go to the buyer? I don't think so. I don't know, but I have, actually, that's a good question, because my guess is it depends on your settings. And there's an eBay setting where you can have it automatically leave feedback for the buyer, either like after they buy, or the way I have it set up is after they leave me positive feedback. So I don't leave feedback for anyone manually. eBay leaves positive feedback for my buyer after they leave positive feedback for me. So it's a good question. I should check and see. I'm not going to check now. It'd be boring to look at me poke around there. So that's a good question. I'm not sure. Ant asks, buyer requested return an item which was listed as 4 parts only, claiming it is not working. What do you do? If I didn't accept returns on it, I would decline the return. If I accepted returns, I usually don't accept returns on a listed as is for parts. But if they open up an item not as described, I don't know. Like I've heard people complain about. I don't think that's ever happened to me. I think like you end up just having to talk to eBay and be like, look, this is listed as for parts not working, and they're saying it's not as described, and I don't know, go back and forth with eBay for a while. But at that point, you're like, is that worth my time? I guess if it's a very expensive item, I would do that. If not, I would not. I just wouldn't. I wouldn't spend my time doing that unless it was worth my time. I don't know. I've never had to do it though. Sorry. I wish I had a better answer. What time is it? Okay. Tracy asks, I take all my pictures with my phone. Can I delete the pictures after listing, or should I wait till the item sells? Tracy, I don't. I think you can delete it whenever you want to. There's actually a setting in the eBay app that basically it prevents your photos from being saved to your camera roll on your phone so that you don't have to delete them. That's what I have set up. I don't even keep any of the photos at all. So I think you can delete them whenever you want. Helping Holdings asks, when you generate the tax report from Flipwise, does it only show COGS for an item that have sold, items that are listed with COGS to acquire but that haven't sold yet? So we show kind of all of the above. Here, I'll just pull it up really quick. Y'all get to see my personal tax report. So this is for 2024. Oops, I guess I should click the button, shouldn't I? Uh-oh, I'm having internet problems. I hope that's not hurting the stream. There it goes. So on the tax report, from an inventory perspective, it's going to show starting inventory values, ending inventory values, the amount that you spent on new inventory, and the cost of goods sold. So it supports both accrual and cash accounting inventory accounting methods. So it'll show all of the above. And for starting and ending inventory values, it doesn't care what the status is. It doesn't care if it's sold or not. It doesn't care if it's listed or not. If you have inventory that's unlisted, and you have the correct purchase date, it's going to be included in your starting and ending inventory values. Or if the item was listed and was ended, or if it was donated, you can see down there, it shows like how much of that has donations in it. So your question was, does it only show COGS for items that have sold? No. So yes, it shows COGS, cost of goods sold. It's only sold items, but it also shows starting and ending inventory values, which includes stuff that's not sold, to butcher the answer to your question. Tom asks, do you include serial numbers and pics on items you sell? No, I don't ever mess with that. Jay asks, do you still give advice on stores? I haven't done any store reviews for a while. Honestly, kind of similar to the questions, it just got repetitive. Like the problems, the people like reach out want me to review their stores and say why they're getting slow sales. And the problem is almost always the same thing. And it's that like the inventory that's being sold is in low demand. And so it's not stuff that's going to sell very quickly. And the prices were high. People tend to price their things high. And I just there's only so many times I could say that. And every once in a while you run across a store that's like doing a great job. And I'm just like, oh, it looks good. Congratulations. I have nothing bad to say about it. But very, very rarely was there feedback I could give that was unique and interesting. So I just sort of stopped doing it. All right, y'all, I'm losing my voice again. I'm gonna end this stream now. I really appreciate y'all joining me. That was fun, and I'm gonna iron out all of the kinks in live streaming. We'll get it figured out. I'll be back next week, and